Hello and welcome to PowerDrift Simplified, a segment where we take automotive concepts, break them down into bite-sized pieces so you can digest them easily. And when we did the first episode, we asked you what you'd like to see, and the biggest part of that was engine oils. So today we're going to talk about engine oils, what the numbers mean and what you should be thinking about. Before I go ahead, I'll just tell you this, that in my experience, most people today make such good engine oils that the difference between a great oil and an okay oil is not honestly that much. Many of my motorcycles have run whatever the manufacturers recommended from day one till today, 50,000 kilometers later. I've never given it a second thought and it runs just fine. So the amount of effort you want to put into identifying which brand you want to use, the returns are diminishing. They're not a great improvement. Yes, better oils are better for your motorcycle, but the difference is not going to be huge. Let's talk about the number that you'll see most often, and that will be a number that looks like 15W40 or 20W50 or something like that on the side of the box. Now, this is a specification created by the Society of Automotive Engineers, SAE, to give you an idea of what the grade of the oil is, and that is a representation of the viscosity of the oil. Now, viscosity is a very simple concept to understand. If you take a jar of honey and a glass of water and you pour them, you'll realize that the water flows much faster and the honey flows very slowly. This is less viscous, the honey is a lot more viscous. Simple, right? Now, viscosity in an engine oil has multiple issues because an engine's temperature varies, and sometimes if you're running an engine in the cold, the oil has to be strong enough but flow fast enough to be able to do its job. But when the engine heats up and it's running at, say, an ambient 100 degrees Celsius, at that temperature the oil needs to continue to do its job, and its job is very simple, right? An oil basically creates a film between two metal parts so that the metal parts can do their jobs without actually contacting each other and breaking each other or wearing and tearing each other up. So the oil has to be strong enough, viscous enough to be able to do this job at both of these extremes of temperature. And today, most of the oils you'll see are multi-grade oils because they expect a vehicle to be able to operate in cold weather as well as in warm weather. So the bottom number, the 12, 15, 10 is a lot less relevant to India because most of us don't really go into severe cold temperatures where that viscosity grade is super crucial to the performance of your engine. The other number is a lot more crucial because that is where you normally operate, where your engine is at full operating temperature and your cooling system, whatever it is trying to thermally stabilize the engine, usually around 100 degrees Celsius of coolant temperature. Now, the thing here is a lot of people will say that, will I get a performance gain if I go from, say, 12W50 to, say, 12W40? Because the oil is less viscous, so you lose less in the friction and all of that. And I would honestly tell you, don't even bother because the difference is not big enough. So what the manufacturers do is they put a lot of effort into testing and finding out what is the exact right grade to make that engine last as long as possible and perform as efficiently as possible. When you change that grade unilaterally by your own decision, what you're basically saying is whatever 2 million miles of validation kilometers they've put on those vehicles to figure out this is the right grade of oil, all of that data doesn't matter. And think about it, that's not right, is it? So if, say, my Ducati is 10W50 and my KTM is, say, 20W40, those are the grades that I will use for the life of that motorcycle throughout. I will never even think about changing them. The only exception is if you're stuck on the side of the highway and you discover your oil is low and you can't find the exact grade that you use. I think it's all right to put any grade that you find as long as the spec is right. So don't put gear oil or lubricant oil by mistake. Put engine oil, any grade that you can get, so that you can get to your destination and then figure out where to replace this oil with the actual correct grade of oil from. The other number that you'll see is a JASO or a API, which is the American and the Japanese ways of a standard. And that standard is basically defining the chemical and physical properties of the oil, how they do under high pressure, under high friction conditions, and etc. And pay attention to that. So if your motorcycle says JASO MA grade oils, then the MA grade needs to go in because MA specifically is for wet clutches, and therefore you don't want to change that oil to something else, because if you get the wrong oil, then your clutch will suddenly stop functioning or have a different way of functioning where there might be more slip and you might lose power out of that. That's the basics of engine oil. In all cases, it's a lubricating oil. The 3-number set, the 20W40, that number usually denotes an engine oil. Other kinds of oil like transmission oil, they have other different certification systems that also talk about viscosity, but the context is different, so don't make a mistake and put the wrong oil in your engine. Try to stick to whatever grade the manufacturer recommends is the best oil for your motorcycle. Also pay attention to the JASO and the API standards. They define the kind of oil that the manufacturer thinks you should be putting into your engine. It is important to pay attention to it. And finally, if you do get stranded in a place where your engine oil is low, find any other engine oil, pour it in, get to your destination, and then do a full oil change and you'll be good to go. That leaves us with the question of synthetics and minerals, and that's for a future episode of Simplified. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Shumi. This is Simplified. If you like this video, please do share it with your friends. Do hit subscribe and the bell notification icon because India's best automotive content is right here. And if there's any specific topic you'd like us to take on in Simplified, please do let us know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching.